In the last 6 months, Shopify has released over 300 features across 2 updates, spring and winter. The uncomfortable part is that really only a handful of them are going to be useful to you to helping more customers find your store. So in this video, we're going to dive into those features, separate what is the signal from the noise, and what are the features that you actually really need to care about in these updates. So what's the biggest change? The biggest change is that now your store is automatically showing up in AI. This includes ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, you name it. And for most of you, that was turned on by default. You might not even realize this yet or know exactly where to check this in your Shopify backend. So it wasn't something you had to opt into. You are already enabled in your storefront. Hi, my name's Jay. I'm the founder of Lantern Soul. We currently work with over 60 active Shopify brands. And in this video, I'm going to share a little bit more about what we are doing with these recent updates. So I went through the themes the same way I'd go through with a client. What of these is actually likely to help us make money? Because that's ultimately the thing we care about here. We're not just looking for features for the sake of feature's sake. If it can reduce our team's time, help us make more money, I'm all ears. So let's dive into those features and what we're seeing specifically there. Quick context on where I'm coming from. I've been building in Shopify for over a decade now. I started off co-founding a brand myself, and then after exiting that, have been in the agency space for well over 6 years now. We've built over 500 stores and done over 150 million collectively with our partners. So we're going to be diving in and sharing a little bit more about what directly we're seeing with our partners and what we are advising for next steps with these releases. When you're inside that many accounts, you stop getting excited about feature releases. They're very oftentimes, it's mostly just noise, frankly. There's some cool things hidden in that, but we're going to be focusing on specifically which ones are generating revenue. And to start things off, I want to remind people, this is why I continuously bet on Shopify. You want to find these platforms that are on the forefront and continuing to innovate, because this is ultimately where your foundation resides. I constantly use the analogy of your website being the foundation for your business. This is where all the funnels occur, all the marketing ultimately comes back to this platform. And oftentimes it serves as many aspects of your CRM or other key central hubs for your business practices. So you want to make sure you are on rock solid foundation. And that's one of the things I love Shopify most. Toby and the team have just been continuously showing that they will update and be on the leading curve of technology adoption, in this case AI, and making sure that it is seamlessly integrated in the store and working cohesively together versus just being a complete separation or having no concrete plan. So first and foremost is just, hey, hats off Shopify. Applause to you guys for being on the forefront. You do not see this with other e-commerce platforms, and this is a prime reason why we prefer and recommend Shopify to our partners. Shopify, in essence, is making it easier for all their stores to index in these AI systems. They're obviously seeing the writing on the wall as consumer behavior, such as myself and probably yours as well, is now shifting into AI-centric search for asking questions, asking for product recommendations, explaining how to do something or learn something new. AI is now the default search layer. And so because of that, Shopify wants to make sure we are integrated and our products are showing up there as well. Anytime I'm telling a client to build on Shopify, it's not just the feature set they have today, but the comfort and knowledge that I know in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm willing to bet Shopify is going to be on whatever that technology curve is at the time and be built around that versus being static in state. I mean, if you're still on WordPress, Magento, I'm sorry, this video isn't for you. So this is the biggest, number one, most important item from the release is your products now show up in AI as a default. This isn't something you had to opt into. This isn't anything you had to change in your settings. This is now a default with all Shopify stores. Shopify built something called the catalog. In plain terms, it takes your product listing and integrates it into a format that LLMs like to read. Shopify's own number is that AI searches powered by clean catalog data convert at about twice the rate of searches pulled from scraped data. And this isn't exactly unique to Shopify. We are seeing this across all platforms. Adobe also has similar data that they are citing. Adobe tracks over 1 trillion retail visits a year. And what they found is a 393% increase in the first quarter of this year alone. So the traffic is real. It's coming. It's the highest intent traffic right now on the internet. The question is AI finding you or not? And this is where it connects back to what we've been doing with clients for a while now. And that's making sure you show up in AI. And not just in Google rankings, not just in AI search results, all the platforms across all of them, because they have different nuances and preferences between ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and so on. More and more buyers are just skipping the traditional Google search and going straight into these systems. And what we're continuously seeing still is too many clients do not have a concrete plan, or they're using something back from 2019 for their SEO strategy that they think is still going to work on these LLMs. There's also a new thing buried in the admin called the knowledge base. Shopify literally shows you the questions that AI agents are asking about your brand. This includes your return policy, whether you ship in bulk, if you have a wholesale program. And this lets you answer them directly into the AI. Almost no one is talking about this, and it only just takes a couple minutes. It directly helps how you show up in AI. So now your product data stops becoming just a storefront piece of info and now becomes an AI agent being your sales agent on your behalf. That's a pretty meaningful change, I would say. This is one of the highest leverage points of what you could do with the new update to make sure that you have updated in your store. Number 2, native A/B testing finally exists. This one's less flashy, and I'm really excited about it. For years, you've maybe wanted to do proper A/B testing without using a third-party app, but instead directly inside of Shopify. And so this was just a cumbersome process. You had to pay for some third-party app. You have to then integrate it. You now have siloed data in different pieces, which, as any marketer knows, really sucks for attribution and tracking and all this other stuff that you need to do for a complete picture. And so this just really made it a much more seamless experience, having it live directly inside of your Shopify. This is called Rollouts. You can A/B test themes, checkout, and account pages natively inside of the admin. It handles the audience split and the statistics for you. And the test data sits right next to your real revenue. So again, you don't have to do all this task shifting from going from one platform to another. I really hate doing that. I'm sure many of you do too. There's also a related tool from Winter called SimGym. It's basically a flight simulator for your store. It runs AI simulated shoppers against your page to have an estimate before you ship it. So you can get a sense of directionally, is this going to be an improvement or not? It's a way for you to get early signal without risking going completely live and having a potential flop. Now, something really important to clarify, a testing tool is not the same as a testing strategy. Usually a strategy is the piece where most brands are lacking. Most of them understand testing tools and the value. Hey, I know an A/B test intuitively makes sense. The more important question I see with most brands is what items and in what sequence and in what order of importance make the most sense. So don't conflate the two. The strategy is always and will continue to be way more important, but now you have an easier toolkit to help enable that testing strategy. Try not to get too caught up in things like color buttons. The more important thing is going to be your headlines, your offer, frankly. That's going to be one of the biggest leverage points. Components like that are going to have way more impact. So make sure that you are continuously testing the high leverage pieces and be realistic that for many stores, if you don't have significant enough traffic, meaning 50,000 impressions or more per month, then you probably just don't have enough data for statistically significant A/B testing. Number 3, Spring added something called Campaign Autopilot. AI ran marketing campaigns that optimize your spend and creative across channels. And this includes newer ones like ChatGPT and Pinterest, all from a single console. I want to be balanced here because this is where hype can get the loudest. The promise is real, less platforms, more centralized focus. You can really just live in one hub. That can be very helpful for some teams, especially very lean teams. But automation changes who's accountable. If a human marketer burns your budget, you already know who's responsible. If you have an AI system do it, it's just like, well, hope you do better next time. Where we find is the augmentation, the streamlining, the reporting, the data, the processing, but we still try to keep a human in that mix. And I wouldn't be leaning exclusively on this platform in its own. If you're a single store operator, you're with a very small and lean team, I would say this probably can be very effective for helping you get high leverage from your time, assuming you have limited time activities. You need to spend a lot of attention on logistics, customer service, product development, accounting, all these things that also eat up your time. It might be useful for those type of store owners. I'd say this is an early phase of what I'd expect more to come from Shopify, but for most people, you're still going to want to have a human in that mix. As always, start simple, test it with small amounts, and then you can always expand from there. This is an interesting thing and something I expect more to expand of. Marketers hate living in all these different platforms, so I think it makes sense for Shopify to try to aggregate that experience. But for now, this still has a little bit more fleshed out for, I would say, the more robust teams, the more built out teams that have those marketing departments and media buyers. If you're a lean under 10-person team, this is probably going to be much more impactful for you and having an ability to extend further with your limited time. And number 4, what you can safely ignore. This is the part that nobody does. And it's usually the most useful thing in the video, honestly. Of those 300 plus features, most of them are probably not for you if you're a brand doing between 3 and 50 million. A huge chunk of that is point of sale, retail hardware, new card readers, faster in-store checkouts. If you don't have a physical storefront, you can't skip it. We do see a ton of our partners increasingly have a hybrid model of an e-commerce side and then a storefront. So there are useful features if you have that type of component. A huge chunk of it is point of sales, the retail hardware, new card readers, faster in-store checkout. So if you don't have a physical store, you can skip it. Increasingly, we do see a large sector of our clients having a hybrid model from both an in-person store and then predominantly or trying to be predominantly an e-commerce. That being said, for many businesses, we see the majority of them are strictly 100% online. And so many of these features are not going to apply to you. And another chunk is developer plumbing. They rebuilt the headless framework. Again, this is going to be useful for developers, especially if you're using that type of development environment. But for most of you, that might not mean much or be useful. And then we also see B2B and wholesaling tools being more natively built in and integrated. These can be very useful if you do have a hybrid type of model. I'd say a mix of this, of some store owners who built that in directly, or some who even separate out the brand or have a different component. If you do have a wholesale or B2B component, you now have some features that make this much more enabled and streamlined. So I bring up all these things because, look, there is a ton of new features that they are releasing, but realistically, there's probably only a handful that are going to be very relevant to you, especially under the context of generating more revenue. So taking a step back, the headline I would say is across both the winter and spring update, it really is the AI integration. This is where we are seeing the biggest shift in market dynamics. This is only just beginning and we can expect this trend to continue. And so I'd say the number one difference from taking a step back is those specific changes of having AI native integration. This is still where the puck is going and where I would really implore you, if you're a Shopify owner, to make sure that you have a strategy and plan for as the coming years continue to see more rise in this discovery platform. So if you're running a Shopify brand, you're in that 3 to 50 million range and you want a second eyes on your AI strategy and search discovery, reach out, we'll give you a free audit, point out some comprehensive strategies for what you can do next. We'll go through your store data, we'll check your AI visibility, we'll help you come up with a concrete plan how to optimize your discovery and give you very specific pointed recommendations for what to do next to optimize your exposure in these LLMs. Thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned to the next one. Thanks, everyone.